The room went silent as I handed him the envelope. $20,000. His eyes went wide, then he laughed. Make it $40,000, if you want an invite. He sneered. That's when something inside me clicked. Little did he know, he had just signed his own eviction notice. If you've ever been laughed at, underestimated, or humiliated by someone you trusted, you'll want to watch this. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and comment, because some stories don't just end. They explode in the sweetest justice. Let's dive in. I had spent weeks mentally preparing for my brother's engagement. Honestly, I was excited. For years, I'd watched him manipulate family dynamics, charm his way out of responsibilities, and treat me like an afterthought. But this felt different. The invitations had gone out, flowers were arranged, photographers booked, and there I was, in a dress I'd chosen carefully, standing near the main table where the gifts were displayed. Everyone was laughing, toasting, and taking pictures, but my eyes were locked on him. My brother, the golden boy of the family, always smooth, always charming, but never genuine. I carried my gift not in fancy wrapping, not in glittering ribbons. I carried it in a plain envelope. Inside was a check, $20,000, for his brand new luxury car. It was the kind of gift that made people pause, the kind that screamed, I see you. I notice your life of excess. When I placed it on the table, I tried to smile. I wanted this to be a moment of generosity, but his eyes scanned the envelope, then me, with that familiar mix of arrogance and mockery. $20,000, he said, letting out a laugh so loud it echoed in the hall. Make it $40,000, if you want an invite, he added, smirking like I was some kind of joke. I froze, my chest tightened. My hands, which were holding another envelope, trembled slightly. For a moment, I felt that old familiar surge of anger, the one that always simmered under my polite, calm exterior. He had laughed at me publicly, made me feel small, and dismissed my effort like it was nothing. But then I did something that shocked even me. I smiled slowly, deliberately. Not the nervous smile of someone scared. This was the calm, icy smile of someone who had been underestimated one too many times. I withdrew the check from the envelope and turned to him, my voice steady. Start packing. You have 30 days, I said. The hall went dead silent. Guests exchanged confused glances. My brother blinked, trying to process what I had just said. He opened his mouth, probably to argue, to make some snide remark. I handed him the second envelope. Inside was a series of documents, a legal notice I had prepared with my attorney over the last month, giving him 30 days to vacate a property he had been using as if it were his own, without any formal ownership or lease agreement. The luxurious apartment where he'd been living rent-free, not his. The car he'd been flaunting, not his. The weight of reality hit him like a punch. He tried to speak, but I raised a finger. Not a word, just start packing. For a moment, the room was filled with whispers, gasps, and the clinking of champagne glasses. People looked at me like I'd become someone else entirely, someone dangerous, deliberate, unstoppable. I felt my pulse slow. The anger, the humiliation, the years of being overlooked, it all condensed into a single, intoxicating clarity. I wasn't just getting revenge. I was reclaiming my power. But let me take you back a little, because this moment didn't happen in isolation. For years, my brother had been the golden child. In our family, he was charming, witty, and manipulative. He knew exactly how to work a crowd, how to make my parents swoon with pride. Me, I was the responsible one, the one who quietly handled the family accounts, kept the house organized, and supported him in ways that nobody ever noticed. He would always take credit for things I'd done behind the scenes. He'd laugh at my choices, roll his eyes at my achievements, and worst of all, dismiss me in front of others to make himself shine brighter. I loved him once, in a naive way, thinking our bond meant something. But over the years, I learned that some people never change. They only get bolder when they know they can push you. So when I saw that smug smirk on his face at the engagement, that's when the plan that had been brewing for months clicked into action. I had already researched every legal loophole, every contractual fine print, every vulnerability. I had lined up the exact number of days, the notice, and even the way it would be delivered to maximize shock. Back in the hall, the murmurs grew louder, as I calmly explained to him that the $20,000 was not a gift, it was a down payment for legal claims he hadn't even anticipated. The car he had been flaunting, it was technically under my name. The apartment, also under my name. Years of minor annoyances, of dismissive comments and public humiliation, had all led to this moment. I watched as his face shifted through disbelief, panic, and finally rage. He tried to argue, his voice rising, but the papers were meticulously prepared. There was no room for debate. Every clause, every figure, every date was airtight. And the most delicious part, I had timed it perfectly. 30 days, not a day less, not a day more. Enough time for him to feel the growing anxiety, to anticipate the impending upheaval, but not enough time to reverse it. I could feel the adrenaline coursing through me, There's a unique, almost euphoric sensation when years of pent-up frustration finally find their outlet. It's not just about revenge, it's about reclaiming dignity, asserting boundaries, and proving to yourself that you are not powerless. Guests were whispering, some wide-eyed, others opally shocked. My parents looked between us, stunned, unable to reconcile the polished engagement they had planned with the storm that had just erupted. And my brother, well, he looked small. For the first time in his life, the golden boy had lost control. I stayed calm. I let him stew. Every sputtering protest, every desperate plea, was music to my ears. He had underestimated me for decades, assumed I would always be the quiet, compliant one. That assumption had just shattered. Over the next few days, the reality of my actions fully settled in. My brother began the painstaking process of packing up his belongings. Friends who had been by his side, laughing at me during family events, quietly distanced themselves. I had effectively shifted the social dynamic without raising my voice or resorting to petty theatrics. And me, I felt a strange mix of liberation and satisfaction. Not arrogance, not cruelty, just justice. There's a lesson here about the power of preparation, patience, and subtlety. Revenge doesn't need to be loud or violent. Sometimes, the most potent form is quiet, calculated, and legally airtight. I also noticed something else. The way people began to look at me. Respect, a hint of fear, and acknowledgement of my agency. It was not fleeting. It was lasting, and it felt good. Better than any temporary thrill of a physical confrontation or heated argument. By the time the 30 days were up, my brother had vacated the property entirely. The car remained in my name, and the engagement, well, let's just say the photos captured a very different dynamic than anyone had expected. The proud, untouchable brother had finally learned humility. And I finally learned that standing up for yourself doesn't make you cruel. It makes you whole. Sometimes, the world treats kindness and patience as weakness, but true power is knowing when to act, how to act, and doing so with precision. Justice, when earned, is the sweetest feeling, especially when it arrives in a way no one saw coming. Have you ever witnessed someone finally get the justice they deserved? Or had your own moment where you quietly flipped the script? Comment below, I want to read your stories. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who loves a little sweet revenge. And remember, sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous.